Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Crash, and if you are regular to the channel, you may be thinking things are looking a little bit different. Actually, just this old part, of my face, you're not. I'm assuming you're not used to looking at it. And yeah, this video is kind of a impromptu video to test things out, test the camera, to test this new way of doing content. So we're moving forward. We're going to be using my face a little bit more, even in the scripted videos. So yeah, if you like that, if you think that's interesting, just comment below, and if you don't, just comment below as well. I hope you guys do enjoy it because this camera was a little bit expensive. So to test this camera out, I decided to do a video a little bit more casual. And we're going to do a tier list. So this was actually a suggestion by Kenyet. We're going to do our protagonist tier list, and this is the Shonen Jump tier list. So basically, these I think it's around 50 are just from characters that I've actually seen the manga of, or read the manga of, and yeah, I kind of removed some from the lesser known stuff, like canceled manga and things like that. So it might be fun. So let's start with don't remember his name, from Bakuman. And actually, just before we get into all these characters, I can just want to say that main characters in shonen aren't generally my favorite characters. I think that's kind of a nature of shonen main characters. They are made kind of to support the entire cast, kind of to carry pretty much the ideals of the manga. And so what tends to happen is that they are kind of similar in a lot of regards, and they are generally like just a nice guy, and they're not meant to be very complex, and they are not meant to have this character development, or a lot of character development at least, even though some of them do. But what happens that character development and that complexities of characters generally tend to go to the villains or the side characters. So yeah, that's not really the case with this guy. I should look up his name. Give me a second. Mashiro. His name is Mashiro, of course. The only thing I remembered was Ashirogi, which is the name of the two characters together, the pen name. Yeah, I think Mashiro is fine. He's not my favorite character in Bakuman, but he's at least a little bit more complex at the start, where he is the kind of the guy who knows how manga works, and because he knows how it works, because he knows how hard it is to even be successful in that business, is someone who's a bit more bitter towards the whole manga thing. Of course, that doesn't go that far. He changes, I think, probably in the first volume. But yeah, overall, I'd give him like a B. I honestly think the other main character is a little bit more interesting, and a little bit more fun. And then we have not Toga, Haga from Beelzebub, Tatsumi Yoga. And Haga is kind of one of the characters that kind of destroy everything that I just said about main characters, where he's not really. I mean, he does carry some of the morals of the manga, but since the manga is not so much about morals, and it is more about just plain fun, just gags and stuff like that, and because of the nature of the plot, where Beelzebub, Baby Bill, has to be connected with someone who's actually evil. August is just a really fun character. He is probably the character that made me fall in love with the delinquent style, which is honestly a style that I haven't explored too much. But every time I do, it is something fun, and Beelzebub is definitely no exception. Actually, Aga is one of my favorite Shonen Jump characters overall, just because of how stupid, how ridiculous, how mean he is a lot of times, and just how different he is from the traditional kind of main character, while at the same time still being, you know, similar to a lot of these characters. And I'm gonna put it right on S. And then we have Medaka from, of course, Medaka Box. And Medaka is a weird character to rank because I think she does her job really, really well. The whole purpose of Medaka, even if it's not really that clear, is that she is supposed to be a bit of a parody, a bit of deconstruction of Shonen Jump characters and battle manga characters. So she's perfect. She's strong. She's like always morally right, and she is virtually unbeatable because, you know, she has plot armor. That's kind of the whole point of the character. And she's not the most interesting character in Medaka Box. Kumagawa is, which is one of the villains. But I think she does her job really well, and I think she brings a different dynamic, or and Medaka Box as a whole brings a different dynamic to battle shonen. So if you're looking for something different, the first arcs may not look like it is something different, but it is. Eventually, I think it's after like the third arc. It's after we get introduced to Kumagawa. Medaka Box really starts shifting into something very unique in the genre. So I think just because of that, I kind of want to give Medaka an A. You know, just for supporting for the role that she has on that manga. And then we got the first Jojo. I think we have the first 5 Jojos in here. I hate Joseph. As a matter of fact, he's my least favorite character in Jump. If Oga is my favorite or one of my favorites, the first Jojo is definitely there as one of the ones I like the least. And I think that has to do a lot with the first part of Jojo itself, which I don't think is really that enjoyable. For a multitude of reasons. The dialogues are kind of clunky, which to me is a big part. The side cast, I know a lot of people love Dio. I think Dio is fine in part 3. I think he's one of my least favorite villains in JoJo. Actually, I know is my least favorite villain in JoJo out of the ones that I've read, which are the first 5 parts. Which is probably a very weird opinion to have, but it is my opinion. And you know, the first manga, the first part of JoJo is all about the duality between Dio and Joseph. Not Joseph. I've been saying Joseph. Jonathan. And I don't know, since Dio is the better one out of the two, in that regard, where they're just kind of like the generic good and the generic bad. You know, Dio is so evil, it's kind of funny. But Jonathan just, it is a boring character, together with you know, not a good side cast, together with dialogues that make the character feel even clunkier, and together with heart that, you know, sure, you know, Araki is a really good artist. It's not among my favorites, but I recognize that he is a good artist. And of course, he has been part of the Louvre, which a lot of people like to mention. But we're talking specifically 1986 Araki and 1996 Jojo. And the art style then was not that good. Part 2 was not that good. Part 3 was passable. And it's only like half from part 4, you know, half 4 onwards that I think it really starts being good. Of course, I only read the first 5 parts. I think I've said this like 3 times already. So yeah, I'm just gonna drop this one on D and move on to possibly the other D of this list, because Saint Seiya is the only like long Jump manga that I've read that I disliked more than JoJo's Part 1. And I don't know, it's just too ridiculous. It's just too stupid. It makes no sense. It has some good ideas that I understand they were very influential and then they were better used by later manga. But I just don't think Sensei knows how to use them. And um, the main characters, the main cast itself is not really that strong. And there are some characters that have, are interesting-ish. Among the cast, I think Phoenix is kind of like the most interesting character. Even if he's very, he dies like 17 times, which gets annoying after a while. And most of the cast kind of like follows a formula from arc to arc. But Seiya himself, I don't know, it's just too generic. And when you are generic and the manga itself is not good and it's not appealing, it just makes the character even worse. So I'm gonna drop him on D. I'm gonna drop him above Jonathan because even though I dislike Saint Seiya the manga more than JoJo's Part 1, I kind of like Seiya a little bit more, or I hate Jonathan a little bit more than I hate Seiya. We should say it like that. Moving to Gintoki. I haven't finished Gintama. I'm actually in the grand landscape of things really early in Gintama because I've read 100 chapters, and we just had like our first-ish big arc. So I still haven't reached the part where a lot of people say that Gintama gets good, which is fine because I've been enjoying the journey so far. I've been enjoying the gags. I that was the reason why I got into Gintama, is because if you know me, you know that I like a lot of gag manga, and I like especially a lot of fourth wall breaking manga. So Gintama has been pretty cool so far. Gintoki is kind of like the same wave that Aga is, in terms where he's not really a traditional side main character. He's a bit more grumpy. He's a bit more prone to do less moral things. Uh, so I think if I was farther into Gintama, I probably would have rated Gintoki a bit higher. So have that in mind. So far, I'm gonna rank it on B. I like him. I think I'm gonna like him more. Hopefully, I'm gonna like it more. And then we move to Raku from Nisekoi. I don't have too much to say about him. I do enjoy his role in Nisekoi. Is again not my favorite character. I really liked his best friend and Onodera's best friend. I think the side story between those two was the best part of Nisekoi. Even though I really like Nisekoi in general, I also really like Onodera and all the romance between Onodera and Raku in most of the manga. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really cute, which is a thing that Nisekoi has. That a lot of, I think, other harems don't have, because they tend to go for the ecchi, and of course Nisekoi doesn't have any ecchi, or I think the ecchi that he may have is like a beach episode or two. Now, by being less ecchi, it can afford to have some more adorable moments. And it's definitely, I think it's definitely the focus of most of the manga. And yeah, I didn't appreciate his choice in the end, even though I to a degree understand how the manga ends. Not my favorite ending though. But I think it's fine. He's not my favorite our main character, but he is far from being a bad our main character, which is saying a lot. I'm gonna drop him bottom of B, and we're gonna move to Inada from IQ. I think Inada is fine. I know some people are gonna kill me for saying that he's just fine, but I think he's a good character. I especially like the character growth towards the ending of the manga. You know, the final 2-3 matches were really good. he's again not my favorite character on the team or on the manga. I think there's definitely a lot more of interesting characters and that get, you know, that have better personalities or more interesting personalities and better character developments. I mentioned, you know, it's that is normal for this kind of series. And Hinata is not too different from a lot of other sports characters, as we're gonna see. I think actually I only have one that is kind of similar, but because I don't have a lot of sports manga in this list, but it is not too different. But it works fine. It works for what the manga is trying to do, and the fact that he's small, even though it seems to be used a lot recently. I'm not sure if that is because of IQ or not, but you know, the fact that he's small, playing volleyball, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see how he overcomes it and he uses his strong points. So yeah, I'm gonna drop it on B as well. I'm gonna drop it on B. Um, Joseph. This time the real Joseph, from part two, which is my favorite Jojo. Yeah, we moved from my least favorite to my favorite. Um, I'm not sure why. You know, part four's Josuke is similar. I know a lot of people prefer Josuke over Joseph, but maybe because I just came from Jonathan, and you know I was just expecting to eat part two, um, and Joseph just made it really fun. And not just Joseph, I think the villains of part two, for the most part, were more interesting than the ones from part one as well. And the duality between them were far more interesting. The duality between, you know, Dio and Jonathan, because in part two we have Joseph being the morally right person doing the morally wrong things, um, whereas the villains more often would do right things, like from a moral standpoint of view, but they were the evil kind of guys that were trying to destroy the universe. Um, so I that dynamic certainly was far more interesting, and it led to them um, joining in the literal Nazi guy. So, you know, just for that, part two is miles better than part one, and I'm gonna put him on A. Um, I like that. That's gonna tell you a lot about what I think about JoJo characters. If my favorite character is an A, I'm not gonna put it on S. But I think there's only gonna be two characters in this list that are gonna be on S. So, you know, don't think that just because I put Olga, like my second character in the list that I put on S, there's going to be a lot of them, because they're not. Olga is just really, really that fun. Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom, which is by far the best character in Assassination Classroom, which is, again, a very rare thing in shonen manga, to have our main character be the most interesting, be the most fun. And I guess a lot of people would say that Nagizaga is the actual main character of Assassination Classroom. I could see that point, and if we're gonna go by that point, then Nagizaga is not. I mean, Nagizaga is interesting. I think Matsui Sensei knows how to do interesting characters because he knows how to do interesting concepts. And Koro Sensei, you know, Nagizaga is interesting, but Koro Sensei is just he is another level. He's really, really fun. Um, I mean, his jokes are not the best. I'll say that. I think Assassination Classroom, when compared to Nero, is not as fun. In terms of the jokes, you know, it's not that it's not as fun. It's not as funny. I think it's actually more fun overall. The concept, the idea, the journey that these characters go through, especially that, you know, that Koro Sensei leads them through. And it made me really like Koro Sensei because he's introduced kind of like a villainous character at first, and we get to experience and get to know him and get to understand the good things about him. You know, and we get to understand him, you know, as a teacher, which I really enjoy as well, because he is such a great teacher, and you know, is not the only teacher in this list as well, but I actually kind of like both teachers, more or less the same. And I'm gonna put Koro Sensei on A. I'm gonna put him above these two because they just really cool. Hibari-Kun is a character that's very different to rank, and I should probably not call her Hibari-Kun, even though that's the name of the manga. Um, the thing about Hibari is that she is a really interesting representation of a trans character in Shonen Jump, in Shonen, and in the 80s. There's such a lot there, that can make Ibari fail and be just kind of like a gag character, especially because this is from a gag manga. And Ibari could just be the butt of all jokes, just be a very transphobic manga. And while there's a lot of it there, I think it is okay because of the way that Hibari is portrayed and because of who Hibari is, which is just this very strong girl. That is always like, even if everyone is like saying you're not supposed to do the things that you are doing, you're not supposed to dress as a girl, you're not supposed to, you are not a girl, and she goes, yeah, I am, and I'm just gonna keep doing the things that I'm doing, and you're just gonna keep dealing with it and get fucked. And that makes Ibari the best thing in Hibari-Kun, the manga, and the least stated thing, I think, in the manga as well. And it would have been a mess if Hibari-Kun if Hibari had been a different character. So I have to put her on a Naruto. I'm not the greatest fan of Naruto, the character. I like Naruto, the manga. And I like a lot of characters in Naruto. And I think Naruto himself is fine-ish. Of course, a lot of my memory of Naruto was from when I was reading it as, in my mid-teens, like 15, 16, 17. That's kind of I mean, I've read Naruto till I was 23 or 4, but that is the most that I remember is from my opinions of like my first opinions of Naruto. And the thing was, I think Naruto is a very interesting character when he's first introduced. I think the teams that surround Naruto, I think the reason why he wants to be the Hokage and wants to be stronger, I like that. I think that is really well executed. I just don't like his relationship with Sasuke. Or rather, I like the relationship between him and Sasuke at the beginning of the manga. I would much prefer if Naruto would feel a little bit more angry towards Sasuke. I kind of wanted him to. I don't. It's not so much that you lose faith on Sasuke, but you antagonize him a little bit because Sasuke was being a bitch, and I like Sasuke. As a character, I wouldn't like to be his friend because if I was his friend, if I was in Naruto's position, I would have been like, "Fuck you, Sasuke. I don't. Why are you doing this? You're a bitch." So yeah, that's a lot of the reasons why I think I didn't like Naruto was because a lot of his motivations in all of Shippuden, I just kind of was like, I'm not connecting here. And his constant struggle with Sakura is also like, maybe I related too much with that. With that, I'll just say that. But I was like, bro, just move on. She doesn't like you. I've been there. It sucks, but you just gotta move on. And there was a lot of things that I just didn't like in his motivations, and it made me really dislike Naruto as a character. So I'm not gonna put him on D. I honestly think that D's are done. I'm gonna put him on C because I think there's a lot of things that Naruto does right, and the things that are gonna get me stabbed is I'm gonna say that there are other characters that came out later than that have those things and they do it better. And but I'll get stabbed when that time comes, and we're gonna move to one of the most badass characters in all of Shonen, which is Kenshiro from Face of the North Star, which is a manga that I've actually read not too long ago, and I'm probably gonna release a review on it. I'm not sure when. I haven't written the script or anything, but there's like 95% chance that I'm gonna eventually do a Face of the North Star review. So I don't want to like delve too much into it right now. If the review eventually comes out, I'm gonna put a link in here. If I remember. But he's just like he's the embodiment of a man. I saw this video on YouTube about how Hibari-Kun was kind of like how a man should be in terms of he represents pretty much every masculine stereotype that is good, and basically none of the masculine stereotypes of just, you know, the toxic masculinity stereotypes. So I feel like Kenshu in a lot of regards is the same. Well, it represents kind of like what all men want to be and should be. Like he isn't the kind of guy. He's the strong kind of guy that's gonna beat the fuck out of, you know, bullies, and he's just, you know, a rock. He does martial arts. He's always cool. He's always cool, and you know he doesn't mistreat people. He doesn't try to make, you know, it doesn't give importance to how cool he is and how strong he is. He respects the weaker guys as well and helps them become stronger. You know, there's so much on it that is, if shonen characters are supposed to be role models, which I believe that that's what they are supposed to do at the end of the day. I think Jotaro is. I said Jotaro. I did not mean to say Jotaro, because Jotaro is inspired in Kenshiro, but Kenshiro, you know, it is the epitome of what a main character of shonen, of like traditional main character of shonen is, in all the good ways. So fuck it, I'm gonna put him on S just for that. Just I hyped myself up to put him on S. That wasn't planned. Deku. So Deku has been on a high note recently, right? We've been, I'm not sure if we've been, I've been loving Deku recently. And he's just like the thing is, there's a really good video on from Broken Ronin on Deku and why he hasn't really changed too much as a character from the beginning to who he is now. And I 100% agree. I was agreeing before he made that video. I don't think Deku, like, of course there's a character growth in Deku's journey from chapter 1 to where we are right now, but he's ultimately still the same character. And the fact is, I liked Deku since chapter 1. I've always did like him. As not really as my favorite character, even not in My Hero Academia. I think, you know, recently Hawks and Endeavor and Lemillion, I forgot his name. I think those are all like really, really good characters. You know, a lot of the adults, a lot of like the older cast is really, really good. But honestly, in terms of like the younger cast, beside Lemillion, I think Deku is kind of like my favorite. And the moment where it got me sold on Deku was actually the first chapter. I think a lot of people kind of forget just how much he went through mentally in that first chapter, in the first like 2 chapters of My Hero Academia, where you kind of have to deal with the fact that, you know, your dream is never going to come true, which a lot of the other characters in shonen, like Luffy and Naruto and Asta, get to like proudly scream, this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it. Asta was probably a little bit over his head as well, but they did it. Deku wasn't doing that because he was led to believe that there was no reason for him to do that. He wouldn't be able to accomplish his dreams, and he truly, legitimately believed that. Then, of course, at the end of chapter 1, he gets to the All Might's power, all for one. One for all, actually. That doesn't nullify the things that he's went through, honestly, in my opinion. Because I think it does in a lot of people's opinions. In my opinion, it doesn't. I think he does his best to, now that he's realized that he has that chance, that maybe there's a chance for his dream to come true. Now he's going to work really, really hard for it. And he gets even obsessed to the point where he eventually, gets to the point where he is right now in the story. So I'm going to drop in on Hey, because, yeah, I really like him. Kawato from Rookies. I made a video on Rookies. Not really just on Rookies, 5 Shonen Jump manga that I think you should read. And all of the main characters are here. One of them is Kawato, which is kind of like the human version of Koro Sensei in some regards. So Kawato is the teacher and the coach of a baseball team. And he kind of serves as the great teacher on Onizuka, from the little bit that I read from Onizuka, of Rookies, where he has to educate a bunch of delinquents and make their lives a little bit better. The thing about Kawato is just like the teacher that I would like to have, or the father that I would like to have. Not that I really like my father. My dad is really, really awesome. But, Kawato, I wouldn't mind have Kawato as my father as well. I mean, he's just lovely. He's always talking about dreams. He's always trying to make other people feel better. I'd like to have him in my life more than any of the other characters in this list. I really like to have Kawato in my life to ask me what my dream was and to help me fight for it. And I think we all need a Kawato. So, if you have one, you're lucky, and you're lucky. So I'm just gonna put him on A as well. Josuke. I think he's fine. I think he's the less cool version of Joseph, but he gains points for being on my favorite part and the only actual part of Jojo that I really think is really good. So I'm just gonna drop it on B. I'm just gonna drop him on B. And we have Luffy from One Piece, in case you don't know, and I'm actually working on a video about why One Piece is really important to me. I'm not sure which of these videos are gonna drop first. With that said, I think Luffy perfectly represents everything that One Piece is, and the themes of One Piece. I really like that. And I think in terms of like the traditional style of main characters, Luffy is among one of my favorites. But he's really dumb, kind of like the Goku, which I grew up with. The Goku kind of characters. I think Luffy is really simple. He doesn't have the complexity of Naruto. I would say he doesn't have the complexity of Naruto, or Ichigo or Deku. I think he's more simple. I think that works on his favor, honestly, because a lot of the times the manga isn't necessarily about Luffy. Most of the times it's not about Luffy. And Luffy or rather it is, but it's more about how Luffy changes the environment. How its simplicity, how his shine, how his light, how his morals, how his strength kind of like help people around him. Um, so yeah, I think he does well. I'm still gonna put him on B, which is, I'm not sure if it's gonna annoy people. I really love One Piece. I really, really do. But I'm gonna put Luffy on B. Top of B. Jotaro, from part 3, which is kind of like the middle ground for me in terms of parts of JoJo, and also kind of like the middle ground for me in terms of the characters of like of the JoJos. I really don't like him as much as I like the Joseph and Josuke. Um, I think he's fine-ish. I don't hate him. I don't hate him like I hate Jonathan, because I think Jotaro is fine. Jotaro is cool. It's kind of like is a lot like Kenshiro, except Kenshiro is a lot cooler and a lot more fun. I think what saves part 3 is first of all is the fact that Joseph is still in part 3, which I love. The fact that he still gets to be there and have a very important part on it. But just the entire cast of part 3 is really fun. It's a good journey that we go through. It's a really fun road trip kind of manga. And we get to know and connect with all these characters and see their friendships flourish. So that is cool. I don't think Jotaro is the best in that situation. I'm gonna put him on S though. On S, no, or C. Asta. Are you ready for this? I think Asta is a better version of Naruto. Or if it's not a better version, it's a list of versions that I definitely like a lot more. I think he uses a lot of Naruto. There's a reason why people, I get, like, why people call, Asta just Naruto 2 or just a copycat of Naruto. They also call Deku that. I don't get too much with Deku. I think they are different characters. Asta, I get. Not just the dreams, not just the goals, in the way that the manga is structured. Like at the beginning, which at the beginning I like the first 5 or 6 chapters. I really didn't like Asta. I thought Asta was annoying, which is kind of a different thing with Naruto. Naruto, I liked him at the beginning, then I started to think he was annoying. With Asta, I thought it was annoying at first. He was really annoying at first, honestly. But he grew on me. I think the way that he just wants things, the way that he just believes in himself, the the core beliefs of a shonen character, which I say a lot of times that Black Clover is just shonen, battle shonen, ripped to its essentials and made it fun. It just Black Clover is just an exploration of what makes battle shonens fun to read and watch. And Asta fits that bill well. Asta is just kind of like what makes those main characters fun. Not necessarily interesting, but just fun. And that's kind of why I like Asta. I believe in him, which is a lot more that I can say about some of the other characters. I genuinely believe and genuinely want to cheer for him when he says like I'm gonna do this, and I really like him. I was expecting to hate him so much. I was expecting to hate Black Clover a lot when I started, because I had heard a lot of people saying really bad things about Black Clover, and it's super fun. I don't get why people don't. I mean, I get why people don't love Black Clover, but I don't get why people don't like Black Clover. It's really 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 fun. I'm still gonna put him on B behind Luffy, though, but definitely above Naruto. Sakuragi from Slam Dunk is another delinquent manga, delinquent character, which should let you know is gonna stand up on the higher echelon of characters, because Come on, they're the best. Delinquent characters are the best. Um, Again, the weirdest thing about Slam Dunk is that the characters that I like the most in Slam Dunk are not necessarily the team or any basketball players, because you could be like, oh, I don't like the team, but my favorite character is from another team. But it is not like I like the members of the team. Don't get me wrong; they're all great. Sakuragi is great. The sidecasts, like the friends, the coach, the manager. I mean, I love those, and they really don't get too much of a screen time, but I just love them. They're really fun. Um, but Sakuragi, Sakuragi. The fun thing is that he gets a lot of character development in the manga, because he's a character. He's a character that doesn't like basketball at the beginning, and he's only doing this for a girl essentially. Um, and we get to see him fall in love with the sport and get to see him like have actual real dreams, which is what happens as well in Rookies, because I think Rookies is super based on in Slam Dunk, but you know, I think that because Rookies is all about the core cast of the team, which is not they are important, but they're not the main character. In Sakuragi, we get to see that as the main character, be someone that needs to humble himself, needs to grow as a character, needs to become better at the sport. He needs to love the sport, and see him do all of that is one of my favorite character developments in shonen manga. So, Slam Dunk is just amazing. If you haven't read it, go do it. I'm gonna put him on A. Gonna put him on A. Anti-Common, from, of course, the super famous manga, and actually kind of famous manga, Ultimate Anti-Common. Um, so some people may need some context on this one, which this is a guy who puts panties on his face, used panties, of course, not just any panties. He becomes kind of like a superhero that beats bad guys in very sexual ways. Um, it's a wild it's a wild adventure. It's a really dumb adventure, and is a really dumb. I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna rate this character. It's not a D. It's not a D character. It's so stupid that it's so fun. I don't know. I shouldn't put him here because I don't know what I'm gonna rate him. I kind of want to rate him an S, but the thing is, well, okay. So Anti-Common itself, the idea, the concept of the character, is really stupid, really fun, and it's great. The concept itself is an S tier concept, uh, or a D tier concept, depending on what kind of person you are. The character itself is kind of the actual character when he's not on this form is boring, is kind of annoying, and the jokes are very repetitive, which kind of ruins the manga a little bit towards the end. I'm gonna put him on B, bottom of B, maybe, maybe no. That's where it is. Emma from The Promised Neverland. Oh, I feel like this is another character where I think it's kind of annoying. Um, she's great in the first arc. I think if you've only seen the first arc of The Promised Neverland, the first season of The Promised Neverland, you probably like Emma more than people who have watched the entire thing, because she eventually gets a little bit annoying in the old I don't want to hurt anybody kind of thing, which is kind of like her goal, is to basically change the world, cause a revolution. um just she wants to wage war against an entire species, but she doesn't want to hurt anyone. which is, there's other characters that tell her that that is not how things are done, and so that kind of helps have the Promised Neverland have a little bit of more complexity to it, where other main characters are like, yeah, but that's not gonna happen, and we get to see that her beliefs being questioned. But she's really, really annoying a lot of the time. So I'm not gonna put her on D. I think she in the first arc she's great. I think the fact that she gets to have those beliefs challenged and that she gets to still fight for them, we get to see how much she believes in what she's saying. That is good. I just find it annoying. So I'm gonna put her kind of on the same spot I put Naruto, because I feel like the reasons why I don't like these two characters are kind of the same. Journal from part 5. I think part 5 has the best guest. It's not my favorite part. It might be my second least favorite part. Because I feel like it's too much. It's too confusing. The fights are too confusing. They can be too annoying. It just a lot of things are like. After the time I'm watching part 5 of Jojo, I'm just kind of like, why? What is happening? Why is happening? Oh, the fight ended. Didn't understand anything. Like there's little to no logic to a lot of it. Just I didn't like how confusing it was, which may be relevant for another topic, another manga that we'll be talking about. But the cast itself, I think, kind of saves it. It makes me enjoy part 5 still, because they are fun. Not Journo. I think it's not that Journo is a bad character. Again, I don't hate him as much as I do Jonathan, but I think he's one of the most boring and passive characters in part 5, where he has his power. He knows things because he's a Jojo and he's the main character, and it's not as wild and fun as a lot of the other characters of the family. So he's just there. He gets overshadowed by a lot of the characters, which I think happens as well in part 3. But I think part 3, Jotaro still has a strong presence overall, that Journal doesn't. So I'm gonna put it on C, as well, but below Jotaro. Naruyuki from We Never Learn. I love him. I love him. I don't like. I think our manga, they don't get the best main characters for a lot of reasons. I feel like a lot of our manga tend to appeal like the people who. I mean, look, and I was one of them that just been rejected a lot of times and just are kind of like, I wanna, and I'm feeling sad, and I wanted just jump into our manga and just kind of like just cry it out, and I've read a lot of our manga because of that, because so I'm not dissing anyone. And if you are in that situation, things do get better. Believe me, you just kind of need to move away from that mentality of being too down with yourself, and just realizing that maybe that person should just weren't meant to be. That tensions aside, the thing that happens, a lot of those characters then tend to be kind of similar, where they're just kind of like guys that's being rejected or just down, or we are supposed to feel sad for them most of the time, and then despite being sad for them, they get like 70 girls all of them like him, and it can be annoying because you can feel like they don't deserve the love of these characters, or if they do deserve the love of these characters, why are they represented like someone who's never going to get anyone when it's natural that there are a lot of characters who like him, right? So Naruyuki is a bit different. It's a lot different, and that's kind of why I like him a lot, because I think he's the best our main character. I think he's, first of all, there's a good reason for a lot of characters to fall in love with him, because I did too. He's lovely. He's always helping people. He's smart. He's fighting for his dreams. He's helping other people fight for their dreams. It's just an exceptional person. Why wouldn't you like Naruyuki? Everyone would like Naruyuki. So I'm just gonna put him on A because he's lovely. I'm not gonna put him on S. But he is lovely. Senku is one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite main characters in current Jump, I think. I don't like the smart kind of character. You know, the kind of, you know, L kind of character. And then we'll get to Light when we get to him. But I just overall I think they are really badly done. I don't think they are. It's kind of like the thing where they come across very annoying. You know, just I'm smart. I'm the best at being intelligent. You know, that's kind of the core of their characters most of the time. Senku is not that. That's why I love Senku. Senku is smart, and you know, and he knows he's smart. But first of all, he's just a badass. In my opinion, he's just a badass. And he's kind of like really a nice person. He's the kind of guy that we want, you know, the smart guys, you know, the top of the class guys to be. We want them to be like Senku, where they're cool. They will help us. They want to save the world from being transformed into rocks. And they're just like the intelligence gets just from the fact that they're really curious, not that they want to be superior to other people. They just want to know things because they like knowing things. Which a lot of the times with real people, a lot of the times it's not like that. And so I Senku is great. I'm gonna drop in on my A as well. Achimaru, forgot Achimaru was here. From Samurai 8, which is Kishimoto's other story, and I think Achimaru is just kind of like trying to do Naruto again, and failing miserably. Of course, Samurai 8 itself is a fail of epic proportions, where just everything is there. There's something wrong in everything. The main character is one of those things because it's not really appealing. Again, it tries to do Naruto, but it doesn't have the things that make Naruto interesting at first. So it's just one of the worst characters overall then, because it gets annoying right from the beginning. So I forgot him. I'm just gonna put him on D. I don't think I hate him. I'm more indifferent to him than I am over the other two. The other two, I generally want to punch them in the face. Achimaru just a guy I wouldn't invite to a party. So yeah. So hey, as you may have noticed, this video is a bit too big, so there's gonna be a second part where I go through the rest of the Shonen Protagonists. The video should be up this week as well, so if you would want to watch the rest, just stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't. If you've enjoyed this video, there's a lot of other manga stuff in my channel, and if you watch it till here, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.